There's nothing finer to me than to be on the water when that sun comes peeking in under that Carolina sky in the Lord's creation. Ripping some lips on my favorite waters, taking blind hog adventures with some of my best buddies.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Blind Hog Inshore Saltwater Podcast. It is good to have you back with us this month. Hopefully you've been tuning in and checking out some of the other episodes. You can find us on all major podcasting platforms. We've revamped everything, and now we're available on 10 or more platforms, anywhere from iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Apple, you name it, it's out there in all the subsidiaries. So we've redone that. So make sure if you've had some trouble logging on to some of them or finding us, just do a quick search on any of your favorite podcast platforms, and you can find us there. I am joined to my right with my co-host and good friend, Captain Gaston King of Kingfisher Charters LLC. I always include the LLC. Always. And we're out here on the beautiful Pungo. Got a little inspiration, and we were inside. We're going to go inside and decided let's go outside. And our guest didn't mind doing that with us today, and we appreciate that. And I'm going to let Gaston have the honors of introducing him today, and we'll get rolling, man.
Before we go any further, we want to introduce you to some people that make this podcast possible. They've been with us since the beginning here on Season 1, and we're proud to have them alongside us. Those companies are Redline Rigs. Redline Rigs is your pop and cork, jig head, and swim bait specialist. They have partner companies on their site like Voodoo, Coastal Brew, Saudi Bay, and 3JD. Austin and Olivia are great people. They're a firefighter-owned company, a firefighter-tested company, and we are proud to be on their pro staff. We have drum season coming up, along with a lot of good trout fishing, so make sure you stock up, and when you do, don't forget to put in code BHA10 to save 10% on your order. Stroud and Submarine. Stroud and Submarine, Jeannie, Renee, Joe, all those people over there in Edenton, North Carolina. You can find them at stroudandson.com. We got our boats from there, both Gaston and I did. We get all of our services there. They keep us up to date. They make sure we're on the water and taken care of, and they can do the same for you. We've had numerous people go over since the beginning of the podcast and purchase, and everyone walks away saying what a great experience they've had. They sell brands such as Carolina Skiff, Key West, Ocean Kayak, Old Town Kayaks, Minn Kota, Garmin, Power Pole. If you need it, they have it. They can get you in on a service plan, and if you need services for your upcoming trout season or drum season, you call them, talk to Jeannie, talk to Renee. They'll give you a date and time to bring off your boat and drop it off, and then they'll give you a time to pick it up. No 6 or 8 week waiting here. You can get it done there at Stroud and Submarine in Edenton. Foxhole Outdoors. Foxhole Outdoors, Michael and Larkin and the team over there, they are great folks. There you can find seasonings, tackle, apparel, the LL Signature Rod Series, and recipes and more over at foxhollooutdoors.com. You can also find them on Instagram and keep up with their adventures. You can enter in code BHA15 to save 15% off your order over there. Saltstrong. Saltstrong is about family, freedom, and fishing. You can get on there and see the insider reports, be in a good Christ-centered community, and get updates weekly on fishing reports to make your time on the water better. You can find them at saltstrong.com. Saudi Bay Baits. We want to welcome Saudi Bay Baits in. They've been part of our family here for a long time, but they've put up a prize pack that we're going to offer somewhere in this podcast today, so you better stay tuned the whole way through. But they have great baits there. They have swim baits, they have top water baits, they have anything you need to make you successful on the water. We are proud to be part of that pro staff, and we just appreciate Tim and the crew over there. You can find them at SaudiBayBaits.com. Hey, we thank all these great sponsors for coming alongside. Make sure you save some money, support those that support us. Now let's get back to the show.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We're back in the Redneck Lab, and we have a man here with us that he has quite a few talents. He is the president of ECIC. He is probably the fastest man on the water out here, Beaufort and Hyde County. The man runs a Mamba, and if you ain't paying attention, it's a blur going by. I've got Captain Chris Ivey of Hot Pursuit Fishing with us. And Chris, thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Why don't you jump right in and tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into fishing down here, and just give us a little background.
Well, it was a dark and stormy night. No, I'm just kidding. No, I was. It's funny how we talk about how you asked me earlier. How did I get started fishing? You know, I think probably the same way a whole lot of people did is from the time I was old enough to walk. You know, we had a little farm, and we had a bunch of farm ponds, and started cane pole fishing from the time I could walk. And I even remember, like, I'd go down there with my dad, and he'd be catching fish after fish, and I wasn't catching anything. And I'd say, Dad, why am I not catching fish? And he'd say, because you're not holding your mouth right. So I'd get quiet, and I'd start catching fish. And I don't think I've shut up since. But I went, you know, from there, ended up going, when I got out of high school, and went to East Carolina University. I had uncles growing up that were fishermen, and we all fished together. They used to take me fishing all the time. I've done a fair amount of fishing on the Roanoke with one of my uncles. And then he kind of transitioned over to the saltwater, brackish water fishing in the early 90s. And I very vividly remember I was in college, and he would call me on like a Friday and say, meet me at Swan Quarter. Well, I didn't even know what Swan Quarter was. So and he wanted me to be there at like 4 o'clock in the morning because I didn't know it at the time, but we had to cast net and catch bait for the first 3 hours. And
put you to work.
Yeah. So the first time I ever pulled up in Swan Quarter, it was at the old fish house. There wasn't a wildlife ramp at the time, and I kept hearing things hitting my window, and it was making this like ting, ting, ting noise. And I was like, what in the world? So rolled my window down, and that was a bad mistake because there's some velociraptor mosquitoes
down there, buddy.
Yes, sir.
So that's where I started in the 90s with this type of speckled trout, puppy drum, flounder type fishing, and it just grew from there, from going a few times in the 90s with him. And then in the early 2000s I got my first, I had a creek boat, like a Landau aluminum boat, and then my first fiberglass boat I bought in the early 2000s was a Sea Hunt, and I started fishing places like Hoboken and down here in Pungo Creek with Lambert Garris. And
shout out to Lambert.
Yeah,
Shout out to Lambert.
Lambert taught me my initial learnings about Pungo Creek.
So are you saying you can contribute all of your success over the years to Lambert?
I don't know about all the success, but but we definitely
At least a small
foundation. A small part of it. And the Pungo Creek part, he never lets me forget that he taught me something about Pungo Creek. And then I started venturing out towards Hoboken and fishing into ICW and Campbell Creek. And
That's a pretty place over there, too.
yeah. So over the years, I've just continued to spread out. And I fished the Noose, the Pamlico, Pungo, anywhere really.
That boat he's got, he can touch them all in a day and get back.
He can be from Pungo River over there to Noose River in about 15 minutes.
Yeah, but the one thing I would say about my fishing is that you don't. I've had a lot of people over the years that have invested their time and helped me to learn what I know. Because I appreciate that. There's a lot of folks I could name, and I don't want to miss anybody, but a lot of people that took time and said, "Hey," I was like, "Man, will you teach me how to fish like this?" And that was pretty cool. And guys that I've known, and we still all fish together from time to time. So,
well, we talk about that a lot too. Is kind of where you came from. There's always somebody somewhere. Usually, I mean, not everybody, but there's usually somebody somewhere. And if you listen to a lot of these people talk about where they came from, a lot of us came from the bass world, the freshwater world, and it was just. I mean, I'm an hour and a half from here back west. So for me, it was, golly, I was mad at my dad if we didn't go fishing on the weekend,
Oh, yeah.
And we just put a little John boat in the creek, and, the bass was the first thing. But, man, we've talked about it. But those speckled trout, once you catch that first one, man, it's a game changer.
it is addictive. And just like you, I remember we were fishing Sharon Harris. That was it was close to home. We would go up there and bass fish all day, and sometimes you might catch 3 bass all day, but it was just so.
And it'd be a good day.
And it was a good day.
That's right. You do that now, catching 3 trout or whatever, and you're like, man, I ain't done nothing to do.
Yeah. Hey, I still say it's better than being at work.
It is. It is that.
That
it is that.
true. But yeah, I mean, we had back home for us too. When I first started fishing, we could catch 15, 20, 25 bass. And then it turned into like that 3 bass a day, right? And it was like, okay, well, this is kind of tough. And you come down here, and then all of a sudden you have a day and you catch 70 trout, and you're like, I think I'm done with that freshwater stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And then it leads into the addiction, the buying this, the buying that, the Mamba man over here. But it just leads one thing into another. So it's fun. I mean, I've enjoyed it, and it takes you places you wouldn't really believe, honestly.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
So how long? So we introduced you as captain. Now I know you've had previous life of work life, but now you are actually a Coast Guard certified captain on the boat there. How long have you had your captain stuff?
I've had it about 2 years, and I went through the school in Oriental, and I'll tell you what, people don't know, but there's a lot that goes into getting that captain's license. I mean,
Yes, there is. I'm doing it now, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, there's a lot. I was amazed what kind of the hoops you have to jump through to get the full license. You have to all these physical. You got to go get doctors.
There's more to do once you
Yeah.
finish the exam than
Yeah.
there was to study and do the exam.
Yeah, the exam was the easy part.
Yeah.
And then the hard part, you got to go get the physicals and the eye tests and the drug tests and the TWIC cards.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. But
So you transition over, and now you have the Hot Pursuit fishing team there that you're doing. Is that what you go by with your captain stuff as well?
yes, Hot Pursuit Fishing is what the name of the business is. And when I'm an LLC, just like Captain Gaston.
LLC.
LLC.
And I'm forming mine. I can't wait to be Blind Hog Adventures LLC.
Oh, that LLC don't mean anything.
I know. It just sounds
It
fancy.
just means more money. That's right. Yeah, it should be MMC, more money.
More money club.
Yeah.
That's right.
Absolutely.
But I do charters. I don't do a lot of advertising. I haven't, and I refuse to, because I kind of wanted the business to grow organically by word of mouth. And I've already got some customers that are repeat customers, and I typically fashion my charters more towards trying to catch more, maybe bigger fish, but I also take into account whatever the client wants. So I get a lot of clients that they just want to catch a fish.
Yeah.
And you can do that. We do a fair amount of, when I get a client that just wants to catch some fish, we'll do some popping cork stuff. We evaluate. That's one thing I think Gaston will tell you, and you know too, is that a lot of times you'll get a client or somebody that'll tell you they know how to fish and they've been fishing their whole life, and you get them on the boat and you've got
A little surprise.
yeah, and they do know, but they're not used to doing. They don't fish like we fish.
Yeah.
So you have to. A lot of times it's a teaching experience, and you help people learn. But
Well, that's what it's all about, right? I mean, that goes into this podcast too. It's about teaching and helping people learn. I get that a lot too. Now, coming from Wilson, like I say, it's the bass fishing. So you get the people down here and we bass fish back home, everything's good. It's such a different game here. And the thing that I try to beat into their heads is I don't care about the bank. There's rarely a day that I'm trying to cast to the bank. But, I mean, there's so many things that you have to teach. And you're trying to do that. And there's definitely some frustrating parts. I know you've seen it. But, at the end of the day, it's fun. You've taught somebody something, and they've learned something. And like you, man, a lot of repeat customers. And I think it just kind of leads into what we're doing here, which I think is pretty cool. So I love that you do that.
Oh, yeah. And, I mean, it's just amazing to get somebody on the boat and they've never caught speckled trout before, and you put them on that speckled trout, and they're hooked. So
what is it we ask everybody, and when we talk, what is it about a speckled trout that drew you to it and that keeps you coming back?
That's a good question.
that's the greatest question of all time right there, because you could probably talk about it for 3 days.
I was going to say.
And
But it's different for everybody.
I think probably the main reason why we love them so much is because just when you think you have got them figured out, they will show you something the next time you go, and they're just such a great. I mean, it's never the same 2 days in a row.
No.
And you have got to have your thinking cap on, and you've got to look at the conditions. You got to look at everything and figure out, okay, why are they not doing what they were doing yesterday? and you got to change your game plan to make it work.
That's right.
And some days it works, and some days you're hero, and some days you're zero.
Well, I mean, they are, in my opinion, the most finicky fish that anybody can fish for.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I mean, my dad has said this for a long time, but it's like a light switch. It's either on or off.
Yep.
They're either biting, but when one decides to shut down, the whole group shuts down. So I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, you know. It is. Some people think it's for the sport. Some people like to thump. Some people like to challenge mentally. I think it's a mixture of all the above. Right? I don't think it's just one thing that brings you back. But it's definitely it's addictive. It becomes a passion, you know. Once you get bit by it. So looking at how kind of your season runs, I know you run some different. You are the president of ECIC, but you know I know you run some different. You run charters. You're also going to run tournaments. You used to run stuff like that. So how does so if you were to kind of dial up your year, so let's say January going to December, okay? So we're kind of starting winter, spring, summer, fall, going back. How do you kind of line your year up and how you fish, or is there certain areas you like? Don't give me pinpoint GPSs and stuff. Just
Right.
is there certain areas that you like
come
to
on.
frequent?
Maybe like
I mean,
want some
West
of those.
32.
yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
is there certain areas that you kind of, because some guys will hit the Roanoke this time of year, they may hit Swan Quarter this time of year, the Outer Banks, or certain river systems. Is for your style fishing, your tournaments, because tournaments run, you know, sometimes coexisting, but sometimes they may run a little more one way or the other.
Right.
So is there a way you kind of set your year up?
So, I mean, I think that pretty much kind of generally speaking, you know, in the wintertime, we obviously are targeting our fish way back into creeks.
Yeah.
I mean, that is since the beginning of time and the existence of speckled trout, I feel like they've always gone from the bigger water, like out in the middle of the rivers and the sound and even the ocean.
Yeah.
You know, they migrate to the back of the creek. So, you know, starting in about, I'd say starting generally the middle of October, November, December, January, February, March, we are typically going to be in the back of the creeks if we're targeting speckled trout.
Right.
And that's pretty much what we target.
So
time of
that's
year.
basically what you mainly target all year
Yep.
long. Anything with just trout.
Yeah, and I do a lot of drum too. Like
Okay.
I do a lot. I love. I'm gonna give away something here.
No,
but
and I guess that's what I was asking was like, do
Yeah.
you target certain species? So, for example, instead of your spots, in other words, are you, of course, wintertime, whatever? Hey, I'm hitting trout.
yeah. So,
I mean,
decided to show
it
up.
made it spring. I mean, is there certain times of the year you're going after certain
oh, yeah.
species?
I target trout 12 months a year.
Okay.
So, but I also really love like slot drum fishing.
Yeah.
So when it gets to be warmer, you know, May, June, July, August, September, October, I have trips just where I go and target nothing but upper.
So
slot
your
drum.
clientele, depending on what they want to do and what they're after. Okay, so I
Yep.
guess what I was trying
Now,
to.
are you changing your techniques, your baits? I mean, are you
Yep.
just totally revamping that for trout to drum?
No, not really. I mean, I use pretty much the same, you know, rod and reel setups. I generally run like a 7-foot medium light with a 2500 series. Hey, buddy.
I'll take that. He's gonna be it.
Yeah.
He'll be on that all day.
usually with about a 2500 series reel, but I just, you know, I may change my baits. I mean, I be honest with you, I love to throw top water. It's like
Okay.
my favorite thing in the world, like everybody else, I guess.
I was going to ask that question, but I didn't want to give too much of your information because I know you are a top water man.
Okay, I don't. So I'm not trying to give away any of your stuff. Just,
Yeah.
you know, is there certain things? So, you know, just saying me, I'm going to hit trout in the winter. I'm going to be in creeks. So when it gets spring, I'm going to start coming back out of the backwaters, and I'm going to go drum and trout. And then summertime, I'm going to go a little bit bigger waters, and I'm going to start really trying to find those drum and those moving trout. You know, I'll probably be down closer to the coast. Then I'll make my way back around in the fall, you know, and so that kind of thing. So,
It's exactly that. I mean, it's a cycle, and I like this time of year. I really like this time of year because you can put in at the boat ramp, and you don't burn. You know, I tell people, I mean, it sounds crazy, but I've been known to put in at Belhaven and be at Cedar Island. I mean,
he's not lying.
so, I mean, you just gotta, and I mean, just do crazy stuff. You know, it seems crazy, but you know, you start checking in the summertime. You gotta, those fish are traveling so much, and they move so far out. You gotta go to where they are.
Well, you have your knowledge base too, right? I mean, this is things that you've seen prior years, and I think we all kind of fall back on those tendencies. Okay, well, last year I caught them here. And you mentioned about the fish moving in the creeks. I'm about the same way. I'll start fishing the mouth of the creek September, and I'll stay in the creek until April. I let the fish tell me when they're leaving.
That's right.
Yeah.
Are you looking? I'm big on water temperature. Are you looking at water temperature, saying, okay, well, this is where they should be? I mean, Corey and I have talked about it. I would say probably 65 is a big turning point.
Yeah.
65 is when things really start moving and pushing. We've had some cold weather here.
You can follow those fish like when this spring, when we've had a serious cold stun event this year, which we hadn't had since 2018. But there's going to be fish that survive, I'm sure. They always do. The good Lord looks after the speckled trout. I mean,
That's right.
I really think they were so populated that. I mean, it's been unbelievable. The fishing's been unbelievable.
And you don't just hear one person saying that. You hear everybody that really fishes hard talking about that.
Oh, yeah. But it's like you say, you start to watch those fish transition, and I follow them. I mean, we follow those fish all the way out of the back of the creeks. Should I be at Ocracoke, fishing for them, and going up towards, Manio? I mean, those fish, they travel so much, the speckled trout do. The drum, I think, tend to be more localized. I read a article somewhere. It was a scientific study, empirical, using all this data, and they said that a drum, once it has spawned, the little drum never go more than a couple miles away from where they were spawned until they get big enough to go back out to the ocean. I don't know if that's true or not, but because I'm pretty sure that we don't have the number of drum that we see come summertime. I think they migrate back in here.
Yeah.
So
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
but I love targeting those guys, like up into ditches and sight casting on the flats and different things.
It's fun. They pull, man. They are pulling
And
fish.
do you catch a lot of drum on top water?
Yes.
See, I've only ever caught a couple on top water. I mean, really. But, I mean, I'm a trout guy. A drum would be secondary. But, I mean, obviously you're going to catch trout, drum, and flounder all together in the same places, depending on what bait you're using. But I don't know. I've caught a ton of trout on top water. I don't know. Do you see the drum back in the creeks? Because I would say once I get October, November, I'm really not catching many drum back there.
No, not in the back. This time of year, January, no, not as much. There's some resident fish that never leave, but for the most part, I'm looking them more in the warmer months. And I'm on flats. I'm around structure. The drum love structure. So they love like getting up in the back of creeks, these little tidal creeks and stuff out in the sound. And
that's normally where I'm going for them, is a little creek off of that they can run up and get some food and come back out to some deeper water, or they can sun up on the, run the bait up in sun.
Yeah. I actually put the mamba in places that I can't even turn around. I mean, that's a pretty good tip right there. Those drum will go up in places that look like a ditch, and some of my drum guys might be mad with me, but I put the mamba in places I have to back out.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's pretty tight there.
Well, that is tight, but they can't get so mad at you because you know how many ditches we've got in eastern North Carolina.
Yeah, I call them, I don't think it's a proper name, but I call them ditch pickles when they're back there like that.
That's right. That's right.
Well, I mean, we've had that day too. I had a day where Austin Hall came down and fished with me, and generally I would not have fished in this area. The wind was blowing like crazy, and we were fishing in this ditch, and we just let the fish tell us. I mean, we went until the fish didn't bite anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just one of those things. I mean, we went in there pretty good.
Yeah. That's Austin's he's I call him a brother. I'm on the Redline Rigs pro staff. I think I was one of the first from down this way that was on his pro staff, and I use his corks. That dinner bell oval cork is my favorite, like, drum cork. So that thing is nasty.
That's what I use mainly, is what I'm throwing for that. And then that Fence-Gator's nice he's got, because it can take a beating and keep on going. But I still like that wired dinner bell. I do love it.
I'm a dinner bell cigar guy. I'll never change from that, man. And I'm scared he's going to take those away, but he says he's going to keep making them for me. So that's a good thing.
They're phenomenal. And Austin is just a good Christian. He's the best guy you ever get to meet.
That's right. And that's what we say. The biggest thing is you start seeing the people around in your circle of influence is usually you start surrounding yourself with people you want to be like, or that they make you better, or that and that's kind of how we got to know each other. That's how we've got to expand and get to know on the Red Line or Saudi Bay or just different ones. And it's definitely a big plus. And we're not an exclusive club by any means, guys. So if you ever want to get involved with some of this stuff, you're always welcome. So after we've gone through spring, now we've kind of moved out of the ditch pickles and we've come out there to a little bit of the bigger waters and different stuff. Tell me about some of your trails. Now, do you just do ECIC, or are you doing a couple different fishing trails or different clubs, or how do you do any of that kind of stuff as well?
So I do obviously fish all the Eastern Carolina Inshore Club events. I have fished a lot of the Neuse River Fishermen events as well. But we've not. I haven't fished an entire season with them in a little while, but hopefully, I'm hoping to do that this year, and I'm really wanting to expand into the redfish world.
Okay.
So hopefully this year I may actually fish a couple of the Madness tournaments,
Redfish Madness tournaments and stuff.
I'm thinking I'm probably going to fish at least one, and just kind of dip my toe into that world, because those guys are some hammers. Those guys, man, they go out and catch 26 and 15, 16 inch drum and come in, and their top 5 will be within a few ounces of each other. So that's an amazing world to me.
Yeah. To have that kind of ability to find those fish, and that many fish that you can find them that close to the limit. I mean, it's just.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And it's tougher. The guys down there, in my opinion, I tell this to people in my seminars, you can ask 10 fishermen their opinion on something, and you're going to get 10 different answers. They might be close, but it's still going to be something a little different. But those guys down there that fish coastal marshes, they stay on those fish, those redfish. They know where the schools are. And
it's kind of like us with trout.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's knowing. And two, if you can fish every day, which Ivey's retired now, so he can do that whenever he wants. But when you can fish every day, you understand where they're at. And they might not be in the exact same spot. Like you said, every day's different. But you also know that you can read, and there's a lot that you can look at, wind, tide, everything. But, I mean, sometimes it's 50 feet, 50 yards, and then, boom, you're right back on your fish. So I think that's awesome. But I want to go into, you said you caught more citations last year, speckled trout, than you ever have. And I just want to talk about that a little bit, just because I know you target those big trout a little more. But how many citations did you catch?
I don't know, because I don't turn them in, like I don't paper them, as they say, but more than I've ever caught in my life. And I think you can attribute it to just how awesome the fishery is in North Carolina, especially when we can have a period where we haven't had a freeze since 2018. We had a good solid 6 years where our fish were able to grow, and I mean, it's just been phenomenal. I'd hate to even guess a number.
That means you did pretty good.
I think I did okay.
I don't know how many over 5 pounds I caught, and I caught several 6, 7. I've had a couple that I know were 8 on beside the boat, and
we won't talk about that one.
Well, we don't. I don't want to talk about that one.
We don't want to talk about
post-traumatic stress.
Oh, okay.
But I had one on, that was probably 7 and some change, and it was in Belhaven, and I had that real shallow rubber net, and my partner Tim Williams was with me, and he had a fish on at the same time, and I reeled the fish in, and I knew it was a good sized fish, and he was battling his fish, so I grabbed the net and I put the fish in the net, and she did the trampoline, and I don't know if y'all know, but that's what they do when they get big like that. If you don't get them deep in the net and get them in the boat quick, they'll trampoline out the net, and usually they'll leave your bait in the net. And that's exactly what she did. But Tim was mad with me. He was like, "You should have told me to get the net. You should have." And I was like, "You were bad." I said, "We weren't even netting fish, Tim." And anyway,
the man catches so many.
I was going to
go ahead.
No,
and say
you
it.
do it. You started it. You do it.
Because the man
I was thinking the same
said,
thing.
"Yeah, I don't even usually get the net if it ain't over 5 pounds." I thought, my Lord, I ain't netted one that was over 5 pounds but 3 times in the last couple months.
He catches so many citations, he just boat flips
He
sevens
just boat
now.
flips. So, I mean, that he's sitting and he don't brag about it. It just comes up in
Yeah.
conversation, and I look at Gaston like, good golly.
Yeah. I'm over here. We were talking before the podcast started, and I'm over here talking about, fishing with my dad, just hanging out, 2-pounders. We just kind of flip in the boat. He's over here boat flipping 7. So that tells you the
He
difference.
said, I don't even usually boat. He said, if I tell somebody to get the net, it's part. He said, when I tell them get the net, they know it's a get the net situation. And I said, well, how you getting all these 5-pounders in the boat? I just flip them, or I bend down, just pick them up. My man's the fish whisperer, and I went and bought a bigger net and rubber coating so I can get my 3-pounders in the boat.
Well, I was going to ask, too, with that story, did you buy a new net?
Yes, I did.
Deeper
As a matter of fact, when I got home that day, I ordered another net because I said that is not going to happen again. And I think everybody who has trout fished and had a big trout in the net has had that situation happen. We've actually, Tim Williams had the second biggest trout I ever saw in my life that was in the water, and we had a very similar situation. Went to net the fish. The fish did a head shake, caught the lure on the side of the net, and pulled right off, and that was a solid 10-pound trout. Right back here in your home waters.
That's one that'll hurt your feelings pretty good. Yeah. I have been very fortunate to not have lost a big trout. Now, I have not caught many, but yeah, I lose sleep over random fish. So I couldn't imagine what would happen if I had a large trout and lost it. And we've had that, you see that hook, you get some people that aren't great with the net at times, and the fish comes up, the hook's on the outside of the net, and you know that fish is gone.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, now, I will tell you this. Like, we were talking earlier, Corey, about we don't net that many fish. We really don't. But now on tournament day, if a 1.5 pounder hits, we're like, get the net.
That's right.
Because until we know, get the net.
That's right.
So
That's right.
we don't play with them on tournament day.
I got
Well,
you.
there's money on the line tournament day.
Yeah.
He must not keep his drag like I keep my drag.
No, I would think not.
Yeah, probably not. I need to get a charter with him then so I can see how to professionally fish because I'm not doing something right.
You might want to charge somebody else because I don't claim to be a professional. I get lucky every once in a while. So.
Do you sell horseshoes? Because I could use one of those too.
Man, it's funny you mentioned that. I used to fish with this fella, and he's a guy. I ain't gonna say his name because he'd be mad if I told. But he taught me a lot about, and he's from Hyde County, so that should tell you what you need to know. He don't like people to know what he's up to. But that guy taught me so much about this fishery and fishing hard baits, and he used to always say, the first time he ever took me fishing, somebody told me, they're like, look, I'm going to give this guy your name. If he ever calls you and invites you to go fishing, whatever you're doing, short of it being a family emergency, you need to get on the boat and go because he will teach you more in one day. And he did that for me back in, I want to say it's probably about 2016, 2017. And we went, and he was helping me kind of hone in on some hard baits. And literally, I put on a lure that I had never fished in my life, and I caught probably 5 to 1. And I was yelling the whole time. I was like, and it was a pink mirror lure, 17, and I was yelling "Stinky Pinky" every time I hooked a fish.
Tearing him up.
I was yelling "Stinky Pinky," and he's like, "If you don't shut up," and he told. Ever since then, he said, "Did you ever get that horseshoe out of your rear end?" And but it's just, again, like I said earlier, man. People, we help each other.
That's right.
And that's how you learn. Is you learn from people that fish differently, that might know better how to fish than you do, and you be humble and treat people right, and they'll teach you stuff.
That's right.
So,
Well, I think good people gravitate to good people, and that Corey mentioned this earlier, and it's the same thing, right? I mean, you get one good person, and it's kind of like it just grows. Your circle grows, a good network, and that's good to have. But you brought up something about the mirror lure, and I got a question here. If you were going to throw a bait, would you go soft plastic, hard bait, jerk bait? I mean, if you had to pick one bait to throw,
man, that's the last bait I could ever throw ever.
ever. Any season. Just
Man.
one bait to choose.
I think I said earlier, I may change my mind, but I think I said earlier that if I could only ever have one bait to throw, it'd probably be a Mardi Gras 17 MR mirror lure. But I don't know, man, that's a tough one because you got to remember what the state record speckled trout was called on was a soft plastic Z-Man. So
It's hard to beat the Z-Man. It's hard to beat any soft plastic,
It's
right?
hard to beat soft plastic, period.
I mean, it's an effective way to catch fish.
That's what I throw as soft plastics 95% of the time.
But yeah, I mean, there's so many lures. But yeah, I would pick
3-inch, 4-inch, 5-inch, 7-inch. What you throwing? Give me.
Yeah.
I mean, give a kind of a size profile. Not you ain't got to give bait or whatever it is.
again. That depends on what I see when I'm
got
out there.
one
I was going
bait.
to ask
got-
if you're are you big into matching the hatch colors?
Yeah.
I mean, if let's just say the fish are around menhaden or mullet. I mean, are you matching the hatch?
I do at times, and then at times we throw stuff that looks like an electric chicken. That don't look nothing like anything
We've
in
had a
the
discussion
world.
like this.
Like, yep. And I think it's hard. It's just, I guess that's why we love it so much, is because
You can't figure it out.
It's always something different. And I ain't trying to avoid the question, but I may fish. The biggest fish I've ever had on in my life was a MR17, and the only reason I put it on was because I was looking down and saw that there was 17 MR sized bait, little menhaden that were flashing purple, and it was a purple bait.
Yeah.
And that's what I said. Okay, well that's what they're feeding on. I'm gonna start throwing something that looks like that.
But that's part of paying attention to your surroundings. And like you say, it is one of those. I personally, before we got on, said, why don't you at least say give him 3 baits? Gaston said, no, I'm putting him on 1. I
Yeah,
said, "All right."
one bait is hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. That's a hard. I would say, if it was one hard bait, I would say it'd probably be something in a Mardi Gras the size of like a Salty Bay Dazzle Minnow or a 17 MR. Because they're similar in size.
Yeah.
And if it was one single soft plastic, it would be something.
Boy, are y'all talking?
And it would be some type of either a paddle tail or jerk shad.
Well, I'll say this about the mirror lure. I'm a 17 guy. I know there's people that swear by the 18, but there's something to me about that slow sink. And we've talked about this before, that the bait, especially when they're finicky, how it just kind of is slow, or you got a jerk bait that just kind of sits there, suspends. There's something about it being in their face that they can't stand. And I think that too goes back to the popping cork. I mean, you're sitting there, you're popping, and that bait, that lure is just sitting in front of their face. I think there's just a time where they can't handle it anymore.
Yep.
I think even finicky fish, I mean, let's say you're in 5 foot of water and you got a 3 foot leader from your cork to your bait. I mean, it's sitting in front of their face for minutes, and they're like, oh my gosh.
That or just aggravates them to the point they just bite it because hey, it's here,
Well, you tell me this too. You back to top water. I think color hardly has anything to do with the top water. I mean, for one, they can't see but the very bottom of that bait. Mm-hmm. Now, a cloudy or sunny day, and you might have a difference in background, but I mean, me, and you can say something different, but I think that top water bite is just I'm so mad at this thing up here making this noise, and I'm so aggressive that I'm just going to hit it.
I wouldn't disagree with you, but I'll give you an analogy. You got 3 guys on a boat that are professional, pretty well, like really good fishermen, right? That know what they're doing. They're all fishing 3 different color top waters, and only one of them's catching fish. So, but I don't know that it's per se as much a difference like it is under the water as it is light, dark. A lighter colored top water, a dark colored top water. The sound it makes.
I think sound has a lot to do with it. And then me personally, I think it's your water clarity and your if it's overcast or clear, and your water clarity, because some of those colors give off a better shadow against looking up. And I don't know, they're attack predators, like you say. Some of that stuff just looks better. I think they can see it better. And I fish a lot of very tea-stained, darker water. So until that sun gets up, I'm gonna throw something darker. So which is honestly sounds backwards, but they say they can see it better against the silhouette of the, And I'm like, okay, if you say so, I'd try it. But like I said, it gets a little little lighter up, I'll throw something a little lighter, a little brighter, a little more sparkle, stuff like that. But I mean, it's definitely, there is something to color, because you can tell, as in the wise words of Ashley King, it only matters when it matters.
Yeah, he ain't wrong.
He ain't wrong.
No.
I mean, and that's the thing is it matters when it matters. But that's why I guess that's why we buy so many of them, because we're so scared we won't have one bait that day that they want it.
Well, I tell people when I do seminars, like I've done, I don't know how many in Raleigh and different places at the shows. I'm like, I think one thing that can make a good fisherman is you almost got to be scatterbrained enough that you never do the same thing twice until you figure out what it is that they're looking for.
Yep.
Like when I'm working a top water, I never work it the same way twice until I figure out what they want. And some days they want, and like sometimes they want a feather on the back of it. Sometimes they don't want a feather on the back of it. Sometimes they want it moving fast. Sometimes they want it moving slow. Sometimes they don't want it moving at all, than the action that the water's giving it. So you just got to be, you just got to have enough brain power to be like, all right, I'm not going to do anything the same way until I get that bite.
And get a pattern going.
And you get a pattern going, and then you can hopefully you can replicate it.
Well, I'm going to tell on myself. I caught a 28 and a quarter-inch trout on top water, and I got a work email. And I was working the bait. I may have hit the bait 2 or 3 times. Got a work email, came down, looked at my phone, actually replied to it, came back, and when I got tight line, I had a 28 and a quarter on. It never hit the bait where it just came up and sucked it in. Never knew there was a fish on it. But for 30 seconds, I was not working the bait, not doing anything, and 28 and a quarter. So that I'm gonna tell on one of my citations there. I couldn't believe it, and there's not a lot of people that know that story, but
they do now.
You know, it was windy that day, right? So I think that obviously helped because the waves were kind of hitting the lure, I guess. I don't know, man. But that was just one where I couldn't believe it.
And I thought you were the master. Like, you just knew to keep it there 27 seconds.
I'm one of the most lucky people out there.
Well, like if you got a good top water lure that makes a lot of noise, like I think about the Salty Bay peanuts. There's a bunch of different companies that paint those custom. I call them peanuts, or even like a one knocker spook or something. If you throw it out there on a windy day, and you can actually hear it knocking, even if you're not working, it's knocking.
It's going up and down in waves, and it's making that knocking noise.
Yeah, and those fish hear that.
Yeah.
So.
Do you have conditions that you would not throw a top water in? I mean, is it too windy for you on days or too calm?
It's hard to say. I mean, I'll just about throw it every time I go, just to try it, even if it's cold. I mean, I still throw it just to see. But I throw it. Some days I'll throw it all day. I mean,
you're looking for that one bite.
Yeah, I'm looking for that 1 or 2 bites. I'm not looking for, days when I'm looking at big bite. Literally, I took a kid fishing the day after I retired in August, and he'd never fished a top water. And at the end of the day, I think he wanted to go get a sling for his arm. I was like, he's like, God, I've never thrown this. It's crazy, But we caught trout, drum. I think we even caught a rock that day, and it was in the second day of August.
Yeah.
And it turned him into a top water fiend.
So I'm bad about fishing it for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then something else.
Yeah. And I tell you something, another this is most guys that fish a lot know it. If you're throwing that top water and you're getting short striked, a lot of times I'll go right in behind it with something subsurface. So, if they're short striking the top water, a lot of times if you'll throw something that's just below the surface, they'll go ahead and hit it,
Well, I learned that from Bill Dance and Roland Martin and those guys bass fishing, right? I mean, if you're getting that, then a lot of times what I do on that is I'll go back behind that with a little jerkbait.
Yep.
Something like you say, a foot or 2 below, and so again, that's back to that suspending.
Something that's just sitting there.
Yep, absolutely.
And another thing I tell people when we talk about it, that I always get these questions: how do you fish a top water? And I tell people all the time, they throw it out there, they're working it, they get a hit, but they don't get hooked up. 90% of fishermen we'll go ahead and reel that bait in and recast it. And I'm like, I do it to my clients and I do it to people on my boat. Even I do it to experienced fishermen, because we'll even catch ourselves doing that. I'll yell at them. I'm like, leave it, leave it, And it's almost
They
like,
know where it's at.
yeah, because if they didn't feel a trout, if they didn't feel those hooks and it's still in that zone and they're mad with it or they want to eat it, they'll come back and hit it. I've caught big trout that have knocked it out of the water 5 times. And they finally will come back. Like, I think they're swatting at it. They don't like it in their territory. And then all of a sudden, they'll finally get tired of it, and then they'll come up and just swallow it.
Now, if you have that where they're missing it several times, are you changing your retrieve?
I'll leave it sitting right there, let the line get slack, and just pop it and let it sit right where it's at until I realize that they're either going to hit it or not coming back to it. And I'll still work it slow, bringing it back, hoping that she's going to come back to it.
So when you cast, let's say that she doesn't bite it on your retrieve on that one after you had that hit. I think when you cast it back out in that same area, are you going to mimic that retrieve? Or are you going to change it up a little bit?
It just depends. I mean,
I didn't know if there was one that you kind of, when you go behind that strike, in other words, if you may speed it up a touch to see if that'll kind of aggravate them a little more to hit it. You may slow it down. Is there any method to the madness, or just kind of how you feeling when you kind of trying to gauge it?
Yeah, just however I'm feeling at the time.
Okay.
I may try to mimic what I was doing before.
Yeah,
because that's what triggered the strike.
Right.
But a lot of times too with a speckled trout, and if you feel weight on it, and they've felt the hooks, they're not going to hit it again. A drum will hit it 17 times. Because they are just
and a rock hard-headed too.
Yeah. They're just hard-headed and aggressive. Yeah,
that's right. A rock will do the same thing. Yeah. And but a trout, I feel like after they have felt it and they pull off, they're not going to bite again immediately. So
I have this bad habit. It's the excitement of fishing when they blow up, and I'm snatching right. And it's sometimes, especially the first couple. You're sitting there snatching, but really for me, I'm gonna keep working it until I feel them, and then it's hooked up. But I will get that, and that, you're sitting there snatching, it's skipping across the top of the water halfway back to the boat. And for me, that's never a good thing.
I always equated it to, like, how you go out and you fish with these guys on these sport fishing boats, and a big fish comes up in the spread, and a billfish is knocking the baits around. Well, they don't stop the boat, but they'll go back there and they'll let the reels go so that the bait stays.
That's right.
Because they want to entice that strike.
Right. That's right.
It's the same kind of philosophy.
Or they'll start. It's weird. Like they'll do that, and then all of a sudden, when they get ready to catch up, they'll take the line and hand jerk it. They'll do a couple pops with it.
Correct.
And then when the boat takes off, it's amazing. They'll come up and bam. It's just it's kind of letting them locate that bait before you start working it again.
Yep.
It's
a lot of it, and that tells you too. A lot of fish are the same, but a lot of it's a reaction strike.
Yeah.
It's just you've made them mad, and they're also hungry and aggressive, and they're looking to hit something.
Oh yeah.
I think they go through those progressions too, because a lot of times if you go out and you're out a long period of the day, you'll see it starts to be they may nibble at it, or they may come up and kind of do that tail whap to it, and then they may get a short strike. And then finally something changes. Either you get in the major or the minor. Something changes with the wind or a touch of sun, and then wham, the bite's on. But it's almost like sometimes you'll go from 0 to 100, but usually there's a progression and then almost a down progression of the bite, and that's what they say. If you're out there long enough, you see that a couple of times, because if you ever get in them, a lot of times we may say, oh, they ain't biting here, we're going to leave this group and go find another. Well, sometimes they're not biting just yet. Just give it a few more. Are you more prone to do that, or do you kind of say, do you go to the theory of, well, if this group ain't biting, another group maybe is?
Yeah. It's like sometimes I'm looking at on tournament day and preparing for tournaments. I'm looking at what size fish am I catching. Like, what if I'm catching a lot of like small fish. Usually the big fish ain't too far away from them.
Yeah.
Because guess what? Giant trout like to eat little trout. And but if I fish a place for a while and I don't catch any big ones, I'll move to another place, and start assessing the situation. And we've all got certain places that we all go to that are kind of like our go-to spots.
Yeah.
Well, I've got spots that I go to where I've caught big fish in the past. And they typically, for whatever reason, they typically are going to go back to those areas, you know, as they're moving around like we talked about earlier. But, you know, we've all had those days too when you go out and you're having so much fun, one right after another, you catch 100 trout a day.
Yeah, that is fun.
Do you find that you catch the bigger fish first? If you pull up to a spot and there's a group of fish there, you catch the bigger fish first?
Or the old adage of I got to weed through the little ones to get to the big ones.
Sometimes you got to weed through the little ones, but so generally speaking, if you get on a class of fish, let's say you get around some 18 to 22 inch fish, there's some bigger fish with them. If you're catching a bunch of 14 inch fish, they're probably
leave.
Yeah. So you mean I've been around all these big fish? Because that's usually the class I catch. Not being funny, like I don't catch the great big size, but I can catch them. I call it great eaters, 18 to 20, 22. Yeah. That's about the class that I find a lot. You'll see in my videos and stuff. But so you're telling me I have been probably within a good throw a baseball in my prime day of big fish.
Oh, yeah.
Good golly. Yeah. That makes me sick of my stomach.
But I tell you, something else I've noticed, and I'm probably giving away, I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I have never caught a big trout when I was moving around a lot. Usually, you need to get somewhere and get pulled down, and you need to get quiet. And if all the conditions are right, that's when you catch the big ones.
Huh. There is your prime tip for today, people.
Yeah, growing up bass fishing, it's hard not to. It's hard. One of the things I've had to learn is that you got to slow down.
So you're not taking that trolling motor and hitting a long bank and making a lot of noise and all that. You're finding whatever point or area you want to fish, slowing it down, working yourself out good. How you gonna stop out a couple 100 yards, work your way in real nice and easy, and then pull down?
Yep.
And then let her calm down.
You got to let things get quiet, and you got to, the conditions have got to be right, and it just, some days it happens and some days it doesn't.
Yeah.
But,
I've said a lot too. If you think you're fishing slow down.
Correct.
There's days where, and I'm a very slow fisherman, I'll stop on a spot and I'll fish it 20 minutes without a bite just to make sure I fished it good. But you can watch people go down the bank and it's way too fast. And I have no problem whatsoever going right behind them and slowing down.
If I can't get my bait in before it goes from in front of me at 10 o'clock to behind me at 6 o'clock, there's something wrong. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Unless there's a lot of current, I'm working it that way. But if some people move that fast, and you're like, wait, I didn't even get a chance to actually let it get to the bottom or work my pops or whatever, especially
if your bait's behind the boat in 10 seconds, you need to slow down.
I was going to say, because I'll be throwing a quarter-ounce jig head, and it'll be, I'm like, man, there's no way you can. I mean, you might as well troll. I mean, that's about what you're doing.
Yeah, again, you ask 9 other fishermen, they may say, that Ivey, he's crazy. I'm always moving when I catch big fish. But for me, if I can get somewhere, get quiet, have the right conditions, that's
I'd have to agree with that.
That's when I have my best luck catching the big.
And that comes to being in the right place too,
Correct.
which is experience, your time on the water. I mean, about where to go and what to do, and I think too that leads to the confidence piece. Is okay, I've caught big fish here before. You're more likely to spend time in a place like that than you are if, let's say, well, I think there's big fish over here. You're going to kind of cruise through that a little bit.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'll tell you, I'd never had a power pole until this boat. So if you can't, and I say this not being funny, if you can't afford a power pole, you can get a stick-it pin for less than $100. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And you don't even have to put an anchor in the water. You can just slide that stick-it pin down and put it in. I mean, so I had one of those on my skiff, but I have noticed that there is a lot of truth to that. Instead of taking, and I love my spot lock on my trolling motor, but it does make a difference. And I have noticed by easing up somewhere and putting that power pole down and just relax, just sitting there. I guess that's why Texas and all them different places, those guys have such good luck, because they're just stealthy moving through the water, or the fish are coming by you not startled. So when that bait's out there, so it's definitely something to it. I mean, there's if you have that opportunity, try it. If you haven't tried it before, instead of going up and just beating a point and setting your thing on spot lock and blowing the area out, put that power pole down. Like I said, you can get an 8-foot stick-it pin for less than $100. and it ties right to one of your loops. You just slide her down into mud or sand, and it'll hold up to 8 foot. Will hold up to about a 21-foot boat. A 10 foot will hold up to a 23-foot boat. So I have used them, and they're great cost-effective options. So those are some things for you guys to try where you're not making a lot of ruckus in the boat. That matters. You're not putting a big anchor down and having to tear up or mess up the bottom and cause a big splash. It's something that slides right down and is pretty stealthy.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So as we kind of get ready to kind of wrap this up, man, and just kind of we've passed along some great tips today. You've shared a lot of. Today's really been a big fish clinic almost. You'd have to kind of attend one of the seminars in Raleigh to ask these questions or hear questions, or in Greenville. You'll be speaking in Greenville too, correct? Are you speaking in Greenville?
I don't know if I'm doing one in Greenville or not.
But you'll be usually at that show.
I'll be at that show in March.
That's a little, he can, a lot of these guys, if you ever want to get to know them, they're at the shows, they're at the booths. He'll be around the Saudi Bay booth, around the Red Line Rigs booth.
Speaking of Saudi Bay, let's do a giveaway. Thanks Tim Askew and the guys over at Saudi Bay for giving up these lures for our great listeners. Here's how you win them. One below, make sure you go on the YouTube podcast site for Blind Hog Adventures. Just go to my YouTube page, like Blind Hog Adventures, and down here in the comments underneath that one, I want you to comment your PB trout, whatever it is. It doesn't matter if it's 16 inches or 30 inches, and then the body of water that you caught it in. I'm not asking for GPS coordinates. For example, let's say you caught a trout in the Pongo, 27 inches Pongo. You caught it in the noose, 30 inches noose. That's all I'm asking. That way it keeps it fair and people can't cheat. All right, y'all. Appreciate you. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe.
Want to get up with you to book a charter or to learn, get some information. They want to talk to you about speaking at their event, whatever. What is your best contact info so these folks can get in touch with you?
So I'm on Facebook and Instagram as Hot Pursuit Fishing. I think it's Hot Pursuit Fishing Team on Instagram. But you can email me at dcivey169@gmail.com, or you can call me directly at 252-414-3298.
And I will make sure and get that from him, his information, and put it down here in the show notes. And that way you guys can just click on that and head over to him. Follow him on Instagram or Facebook, and then that way you can see what's going on. I'm sure if you fish any of the tournaments and stuff, you're going to see him. And if you get a chance to check out that mamba when he flies by, that is a bad mamba.
I was going to say, you might not see him. You better be looking hard.
That's right.
You see a rooster tail go by. That's about it.
Just remember, you can't catch them going when you're passing them. You got to stop.
That's right. But that is a bad mamma jamma boy. But we just want to say thank you guys for listening so much. Like I said, if you have any questions, drop them below. Anything that you want to end on with, Chris, before we kind of round out?
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it, and I'm really looking forward to 2025. And let's all get out there and go fishing.
There you go. Well, so from Mr. Chris Ivey and Hot Pursuit Fishing, from me, one of your hosts, Corey Furlow.
Gaston.
And from Gaston King and Mako the Trout Dog sitting right here too. We hope you all have a great and blessed day. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to please give us a thumbs up, like, subscribe, and if you don't mind giving us a review, that'll help us out a lot as we kind of work our way up the platform. God bless, take care, and we'll see you on the water.
There's nothing finer to me than to be on the water when that sun comes peeking in under that Carolina sky in the Lord's creation, ripping some lips on my favorite waters, taping Blind Hog Adventures with some of my best buddies.